Right now, once again, I want to welcome Johnny Autery to the show. Me and Johnny go way back. He's I'm sure you've seen his work on my Facebook page or his Facebook page. He is one of the best outdoor photographers, as relentless as any human being I'd ever seen. Johnny, before we get started with the birds, do you remember when did you start your fascination with songbirds?
Uh, it's probably been 6 or 8 years ago that I really got into it. Of course, I've been interested in biology and mainly amphibians and reptiles for years and years and years, but um, doing photography and birding just go hand in hand. And probably 6 or 8 years ago is when I really got into it and got involved and started studying and trying to get some really good pictures and getting some better photography gear to do more with. So
The gear and the accessories now to get the birds within photo. I mean, I can remember, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, when you first started, you had a birding station that the fox and the skunk and all came up to, and that's where you actually really started, wasn't it?
yeah,
In your
in the
backyard.
backyard, yeah,
Mhm.
with just your cardinals and blue jays, and then you'd have um, foxes and skunk. I
Yeah.
even had skunks come in to feed off the ground, and yeah, that's when really got started doing the photography. Got started there, and then just you progress to different other species from that you go out in different places and photograph.
And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to keep it kind of simple today. It's really not simple. We're going to show y'all some birds that you have seen but didn't know what they are today.
Exactly.
That are pretty common birds. We started out. We said let's just do a half a dozen, and we ended up we're going to do a dozen. And let's start off. This is the first thing that these birds will be here, or some of them are here right now. But I want y'all to listen to this because I was 60 years old before I knew the difference in a whippoorwill and a chuck wheels widow. Two very distinct calls, Johnny. Two very
Yes,
distinct
sir.
calls. But Wayne Webb, I was calling a chuck wheels widow a whippoorwill all my life till I got corrected. And Wayne says that whippoorwills do come through here. And you will hear one every now and then, but they nest north of Montgomery, is what he
Ex-
tells me.
exactly. North Alabama's where you first started here, and then north on that through the country. But yeah, that's right.
All right, let's listen one more time now. I want everybody to listen to this close now. The difference in a whippoorwill and a chuck wheels widow. You can't tell them hardly apart the
No,
way they look, but you can tell by the sound. Now listen one more time. All right, and there you go. If you want to hear that again, I do have it on my Facebook page, or it is on my YouTube channel also. So that's a good way to
yeah.
start off,
Well,
Johnny.
the Chuck chip fell out of the white oak is kind of what you hear with that Chuck Wheels
And
widow.
it's got that very distinct chip to start with.
Right.
Chip, chip, chip. And the
Hmm.
whippoorwill go whippoorwill.
Whoop.
But anyway, y'all heard it. Y'all smart enough to realize it. All right, now let's go. Now, Johnny, let's go up here. Let's start with our songbirds that are going to begin showing up pretty quick. Pretty quick. Now, the first image I'm going to put up was taken in Camden last year, and this was taken in Carl Jackson's backyard on April the 20th. And today is April the 9th. So you can look out for these critters. They coming. This is a rose-breasted grosbeak. Tell us a little bit about them, John.
Yeah, just a beautiful bird. Unfortunately, we have to catch them when they're coming through. They're migrators here, but if you're lucky enough to get them to stop by, they will stay for a few days, and then they progress on northward. But they are just absolutely gorgeous, and you can see one or two or three. I'll do a little technical work here. One or two or three at a time. They're ground feeders, and then they're come up to your platform feeders like we see here, and then they'll move on. But he's going to show you the next one is going to be the female. What a
No,
difference.
that's the male. That's that. I just wanted to get a close
Yeah,
up.
that's
of
the male there. We're going to see the female here.
Now here's the female. Now the beak is is so distinct.
The thick beak. Yeah, that's a very pronounced characteristic of these birds.
And that is your rose-breasted grosbeak. Now the next bird is going to show up to your feeder, and these get mistaken sometimes for the eastern bluebird, and that is the blue grosbeak. Tell us a little bit about them, John.
Okay, blue grosbeak is also will feed off the ground or in your feeder. I've had them in my backyard. I hadn't had them recently, but I've had them before. But unlike the rose-breasted, they will nest here, and I have seen the nest, and they're extremely unique. They built a little column or platform of leaves and twigs, and right on top it's a little cup right in the thicket on the ground. So
they nest on the ground.
They nest on the ground, and it's amazing to me that any of them can make it, to fledgling and all. But they are just absolutely gorgeous. To check out the ruddy or reddish wings, that's a good characteristic to identify this bird.
And that is the blue grosbeak. And you can see them sometimes when the grass gets kind of high, about head high. They'll be on the stems eating the seed out of it.
They sure will.
And that is the male, and this is the female. And notice again that beak. That is your Indigo Bunny, and not Indigo. I'm finna go to the Indigo Bunny now. I'm gonna put the grosbeak. This is the blue grosbeak. All right. This is. Let me hold on. That is the blue grosbeak. This is an eastern bluebird. Okay. Grosbeak, eastern bluebird, and our next bird is gonna be one of my favorites, the Indigo Bunny. The Indigo Bunny is a little bird, but I say I can be going down the river, Johnny, and I can hear them above my motor. They are loud little birds.
Yeah, they sure are. And they're another example of your seed feeders. They'll come to you. Platform feeders, your regular bird feeders, or you're on the ground, you put feed on the ground. And I've had them and the blue grosbeaks at the same time feeding. So they're extremely beautiful birds to watch, and just a joy to see.
And they are so bright blue. And I remember the first one I ever saw was at my feeder in my backyard when Willie George Pearson, Winky Pearson, and Bryant Pearson was putting my deck up. And one came to the feeder, and Willie George thought it was a bluebird, and I thought it was a bluebird, but I said, I ain't ever seen a bluebird solid blue. If you'll notice, a bluebird, an Indigo Bunny and a blue grosbeak are solid blue, whereas an eastern bluebird has that orange on the front of his chest. So that's the way you can tell them apart. And now the Indigo Bunny male and the female, and they have a little sharper beak than the grosbeak, but it's still a pretty big beak.
And not quite as pronounced and large as the other grosbeak.
And you will see them at your feeders. Now here's another bird that gets mistaken for a northern cardinal, and that is a summer tanager. I think I saw one yesterday at Mr. Jimmy Brock's house. Tell us about them.
Yeah, they're relatively common around here. You may have to to go a little while before you can see one, but and they will nest around your house if you're lucky enough to have them. They're not necessarily totally. They will feed off the seed sometimes, but they're mainly a fruit eater. You got fig trees and some other fig trees, fruit trees. You know, you may have a good shot at seeing some.
And they got the rounded, distinct rounded head versus the cardinal has the what do you
It's a
call it?
little tough.
Tough on his head. Now, there's a distinct difference between the male summer tanager and the female summer tanager, and that really is not a good. They're a lot more yellow than
Yeah,
that.
they're yellow greenish.
And so that's your difference in your male summer tanager and your female. Now, our next bird is going to be what we call the scarlet tanager, and they are not as common as the summer tanager, but they have been seen in this area, and they have the distinct black wings. Tell us about this bird, John.
Yeah, exactly. They're basically migrators through here. Although it's possible they could nest, but you get up into above Birmingham, North Alabama, northward. That's where they start their nesting. I have seen one unexpectedly. You know, when I was out trying to photograph other birds, beautiful, beautiful bird, just as brilliant red and with the jet black wings, and just a joy to see.
And they also, the female scarlet tanager is yellow. You
Yeah.
know, is yellow. Male scarlet tanager, female scarlet tanager. All right, let's go over the two that if we had the bird cam up out here today, this is what we were looking at, and it was probably 50 of them in the water trough, and that is your American goldfinch.
Yeah.
I love these little birds. Now, the ones that you see around here now are not nearly that yellow. I couldn't find a picture with the. Talk about that though. They'll be leaving here before they get that yellow, right, John?
Yeah, unfortunately, and then they're beautiful little yellow birds. They'll stay here the winter and eat all your seeds up. But when you want to see them in their bright plumage, they leave. But I have seen them in the middle of the summertime in Demopolis on the river.
Mm-hmm.
So I think probably there northward is where they go. So they're extremely common, and they'll eat a lot of seeds, and they'll be glad to come to your feeder.
Yeah, they'll be at your feeder. You put a feeder up today, they'll be there in a couple of hours. I promise you that. And then this is the one, and I hate to say this, my least favorite bird in the world, the brown-headed cowbird. And they don't deserve free feed. Tell them why, Johnny.
No, because they lay their eggs in a multitude of other birds' nests, and
they'll run the other birds out of their nest
and expect the parents of the birds there to raise the young. So, I mean, it's yeah, I hate them too.
I have had a lot of people say that's the only bird, which is against the law now, but they will shoot them with a BB gun off their feeder. but don't do that. I don't advise that. All right, the next one, Johnny, this is one of your favorite ones and mine too, and you'll probably hear this in your backyard before you'll see it, but when you see it, you'll never forget it.
Yeah,
Talk about the Archery Oreo.
Oreo, a beautiful bird. And again, it's a one that it can be common around your house. You may not see them, but like I say, you can hear them, and they will nest real close to your house if you're lucky enough. And they have a hanging nest with they weave in a lot of fibers and trash and leaves and make a beautiful little nest. Um, they are they will come to a feeder, but not necessarily feed on the seeds. They are fruit eaters. So a lot of people get their feeder out of platform feeder and put orange slices. And if you're lucky enough, and I've tried many times, but I have them in my backyard, but I never have gotten one to come to the feeder. But a lot of people have to feed them, especially oranges or tangerines.
Jelly. Some people put jelly in it.
And I got a friend that has had one to come to her bird feeder to try to feed out of the hummingbird feeder to try to get the nectar.
That is an Archery Oreo, and they have a let me play the sound for y'all because you'll probably hear it before you will see this bird. So let me see if I can get this sound up here where y'all can hear it. Oh yeah, there you go. Let's try it again. You've heard that, I promise, out your back door. Because if it's one in your backyard, he's going to be. That's what they're going to be doing. And that is the Archery Oreo. All right, now this next bird we're going to talk about, I'm going to play y'all a video first. And this is a video taken, I think, a couple of years ago. And Johnny, this is one of your favorites. That is a northern Peru. Now I think I remember the first time you got a picture of one.
Yeah, it was here.
Mm-hmm. That's your picture right there.
Yeah, 6 years ago or 7 years ago, I never seen one of these birds. In fact, I never heard of it. And I was down on the creek here over at down in the hills, and kept seeing this bird fluttering around. And of course, it's so small. Finally, I got close enough to get a good picture. And I said, "Well, wow, this is a beautiful bird. I've never seen it." So I finally found out what it was, and then after that, I was hooked on warblers.
And it's a lot of warblers. We're just not going to go over them all.
Probably 20, 25 or 30 that are just, spectacular little birds.
And I'm going to play one more time what they sound like. Very distinct sound.
Oh, yes.
That is your northern Peru.
Yeah, one of the first birds, the migrators, to get back in this area. And I've seen them this year around the second week in March. But they're one of the main characters. Now you won't see them everywhere. They're not as common. They're specific areas because of their nesting, and they mainly in the South use Spanish moss to create their nest inside. Now it's not necessarily that they have to have that, because I've got a friend, Lisa Ogletree, down in Clark County.
She's listening today too.
She has them around her house, and she doesn't have any Spanish moss, but they will gather twigs and things and form a cup like nest in those areas. But you'll see mainly in a wet area around the river, on the creeks, where you've got the Spanish moss.
They won't come to a feeder, will it? Are they seed eaters or?
No, they're insect eaters. I'm not saying that. Let me say that most all the birds fall into the different categories. Mm-hmm. They won't always, all the time, go to a feeder or fruit eaters, but each one of them has the specific things that they like to eat. And say 90% of the food that proves out are the insects. And you can see them. I call them fidgety birds. All the little warblers are fidgety, and they're extremely hard to take a picture of because they're just fluttering around from limb to limb, trying to get a caterpillar or an insect or a spider. And really that's the fun of trying to see them. I love to see them when they're feeding.
Yeah. Well, that is, y'all. That is a northern Peru. And one of my favorite birds too. Now, Johnny, I didn't put it all the research. This is my favorite bird when I'm out fishing, and I remember the first time I saw it. They the brightest yellow, and I don't have a picture, y'all. I'm sorry, I don't have a picture, but it's called a Prothonotary warbler, and we call them pea warblers for short.
Yeah.
They are little yellow birds. They're on the riverbank everywhere, and I'll never forget the day me and Johnny took a photo expedition on the river, and we were back in the back of Foster Creek, and you turned on your app and tried to call up a pea warbler, and they were coming in so fast you couldn't keep up with them.
Yeah.
Talk about the Prothonotary
that
warbler.
was the day I was trying to get one in flight, take a picture of one in flight, and they were back and forth through they're fun to watch. They're another one of the warblers, the wood warblers, and they're very common around the river. In fact, if you want to see one pretty easily, you go to Hollis Ferry Park over here between Camden and Pine Hill, and easy access, and you can see those warblers. You see yellow-throated warblers, red starts, and several other kind of birds. But what makes the Prothonotary so unique is its nesting. It's one of the only, I think it's only one of two warblers in the country that have a nest in a cavity.
Nest cavity.
Right. And I've been looking for the nest cavity for a long time. I never have found one, but that's the unique part of those birds, and they're just a beautiful little bird to watch. Just brilliant, bright yellow.
And I say this all the time: whether you're a turkey hunter, a deer hunter, a cat fisherman, a crappie fisherman, or a bass fisherman, whether you know it or not, you are a bird watcher, because when you're on that river or you're in that deer stand, or if you are hunkered down in the woods waiting on daylight, you're listening to the birds and you're seeing the birds. Now, you might not know what they are, but I promise you, if you download the Merlin app on your smartphone, on your phone or tablet or whatever, and that is the way you do it, I promise you, it is the most addicting app I have on my phone. And you can ID a bird, you can class a bird, if you see a bird in your backyard and don't know what it is, you can go into that app. You can say whether he's in the bushes, on the ground, eating at a feeder. You can put what color he is. You can use two colors of what color he is, what size he is, and it will give you a list of birds. And I promise you, in that list, that bird's going to be on there, and you will have discovered another bird. I'm telling you, I've done it too many times. I'll never forget, Johnny, and I should have put this on here too, because Lisa's got some of the best pictures of hooded warblers I've ever seen. We went down in the bottom right here behind the wood yard, me and Wayne Webb, and we sat down on the bench down there by Pop's Bridge. And he can hear it. He knows every bird. And he said, "You hear that? You hear that, Big Daddy?" I said, "What's that?" He said, "That's a hooded warbler. They stay up in the top canopy of the tree. Yep. You will never see them, but you'll hear them." He said, "But watch this." And he pulled his phone out and went to his Merlin app, and he played that song. And that bird came within 10 feet of us. And the first time I saw a hooded warbler through those binoculars, it just blew me away. Yeah. I wish I had a picture of him to show y'all. But Google hooded warbler where y'all can look at them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, everybody's got access to the internet, basically everybody now, and you can just find the wealth of information. And these apps are just fantastic.
Yeah, and they're free. This Merlin Bird app is free. Now, you can get the expensive ones like you and Tommy Lawler got, but what are they, $20 or something like that?
Yeah, they can get probably
Sibley app, I believe.
Sibley, and there's some other apps there, but the Merlin app is free, and the different categories of birds in each one of them, they all to show a lot of different characteristics.
All right, now let's go to mine and your bucket list. Well, not your bucket list.
Yeah, it's my bucket list.
Not this one. Not this one.
Oh no,
this is a scissor-tail flycatcher. And now we think we saw one time going to Selma, but you have seen one. Talk about this bird, because I got to see one of these.
Yeah, I saw one 2 years ago just above my house. I was going up there, and I go up the road maybe 2 or 3 times a day. I've got a great place to do for some birding and just observing. And I was driving by in the hayfield, and I looked over there, and I said, that's an odd looking mockingbird.
Yeah,
And
that's
I stopped and I said, "Oh, look at that tail. That's a scissor tail flycatcher." And I said, "I can't believe it." And I had my camera. I got my camera raised up to take pictures, and he flew off into the field. And I said, "Dadgummit." And so I got out, and he flew on down the fence line and lit. And so I eased down that way and managed to get a good picture. But yeah, that was a great day for birding for
I
me.
want to see one, and they're pretty common up around Hill, Perry County up there,
Yeah,
where those flats are.
exactly. Yeah, and they're mainly a western bird from us. Louisiana, Texas is where they nest and all.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's on my bucket list. Johnny Autery seen one, but I want to see one. Now, this next one is on our bucket
On
list,
both of us.
and this one right there is I'm at the painted bunny, and they have been seen in Wilcox County. But this is just a shot I got off the internet. But now I called Donna Cooper up in Montgomery, and she has this little fella. She calls him Coop, and he comes to her feeders every year. That's Coop. That's in Montgomery County. Painted bunny. Talk about these birds a minute, John.
Beautiful birds. And they're seed eaters. You know, if you're lucky enough to get one to come to your house, they will eat out of the feeders and may stay several days. Like Big Dad says, there's some in here. I know somebody who had one to come to their house in Thomasville and in Demopolis. So I mean, they can be seen around here, and they do nest, according to what I've been told, in areas in Perry County, Dallas County, but they're not a common by any means. They're very uncommon, but you can be lucky enough to see one.
And they just beautiful. On my bucket list, and they are here now. They are some. I think somebody put on Facebook, and it's so many. You need to go to Facebook and join the Alabama Birding Trail, Alabama Birding. It's all kind of different bird Facebook pages you can put out there, and I mean you can go follow, and but
look at Alabama Birding Trails too. It's an excellent Facebook page, and if you go to their site, it will list all of the places, parks in the state that and what you're likely to see and what it looks like, and it would be a joy for anybody that's getting into it or love birds to to travel around a bit just to see what you can see.
Yeah, and all of these birds we're showing y'all today are going to be here for how long, Johnny? How long will they be here? Some of them will leave in the middle of summer. Some will stay here till. I know Coop stayed in Montgomery County up into December.
Yeah, it just depends. Your bushy migrators will be here maybe a couple of weeks, maybe less, maybe a little more, and then your regular birds that nest here, they'll be here through probably July, August, maybe into September.
But go to Coast Trouvé in downtown Camden today. Get you a bird feeder. And a 5-pound bag of bird seed. Put it in your backyard, and these right here might be showing up any day now.
Sure.
Any day now. Those are the rose-breasted grosbeaks, and they are. I'm looking for them. I was hoping one to show up today, but they coming. Any advice to people putting up feeders and stuff, Johnny?
Feed is fairly inexpensive. Walmart's got them. Your Tractor Supply. And it's a variety of feeders. And something we hadn't talked about much, we have an abundance of woodpeckers.
Yes.
They like the little square suet
Mm-hmm.
that you can buy. Even if you're real lucky, I've seen pileated woodpeckers come to that. But I might say there's a large amount of birds that we hadn't even touched on. A lot of them that are common that you see: blue jays, cardinals, titmice, chickadees, they're all present too.
Yeah.
So, and any of those birds that are real enjoyable. In fact, I like to go out and take pictures of some of those birds too. They're common and they're here all the time, but they're fun to watch.
And we're talking about the eastern bluebirds, and Peggy Terry just said they are not seed eaters, but they are insect eaters. But I know Jimmy Pugh at Coast to Coast has a bag of mealworms,
Yeah.
and you can put them in just a little cup of mealworms, and the bluebirds love them, and they're nesting this time of the year.
Everybody try the mealworms. They're inexpensive. Now, I have tried the dried mealworms before several times. I don't know if it's me or my bluebirds are more picky, but they will not touch a dry freeze dried mealworm.
Really?
And so what I did about 3 or 4 years ago, I ordered some live ones, and they're a lot to take care of. You have to put them in your refrigerator and do this and that. But boy, they will gobble live mealworms up. But unfortunately, so were the other birds too. And the mockingbird was really being a bully, and he was trying to hog all the mealworms. But yeah, try some of the the dried ones and see. You might make a difference.
And I'll tell you something else I used to love to do with the bluebirds, mockingbirds too. But they'll fight. Bluebirds will fight. They'll lock up just like you'll have to go kick them on the ground. But
really,
but you go to Lofton's bait shop and get you 50 crickets and get you a handful of crickets when you mowing or something and throw them out there and watch them bluebirds. I love to watch them. They love them crickets too. Hey, Johnny, I know you get mad at me. Johnny Autery Images, he lives in Dixon Mills, so his internet is like ours. It's kind of iffy, but y'all go check out his webpage at johnnyautry.zenfolio.com. You can buy, Johnny, you got some pictures. What do you do with all them pictures? I mean,
well, I've got, I hate to say, but I've got, put them on disc, but I've got cards that are just full waiting to be something done with. And in my case, I love to take the pictures, but I hate to be on the computer trying to
edit
them.
Post production.
Exactly. That ain't me.
Well, I get on him all the time, y'all. Oh yeah, John Brunson said you went with him one time. Hawking. John Brunson's tuned in.
I need to go back sometimes. Yeah, that was fun, man. That was fun.
But and that's something else. We hadn't even talked about the birds of the prey, the eagles and the hawks and the ospreys, and it's just. But what we wanted to do today, and I hope we have done that, is just get y'all excited about all these songbirds coming in right now. And if you have not got a feeder in your backyard, or if you have a feeder in your backyard, Laura AG, and you don't keep feed in it, it ain't doing you a bit of good.
Right.
So get your feed in there, because I promise you, it's an exciting time of the year. Everybody's a birder. You just don't know it till you get into it.
Yep.
Anything else we need to mention, Johnny?
Yeah, just get your feeder and keep it full and just watch.
Yeah,
and
show them your guides that you use.
Oh yeah, and besides apps, and of course you got a world of information on the internet. You can also pick up some books there. This is one you take with you. Birds of Alabama. It's got a lot of pictures. There we go. Got a lot of pictures. It's not a wealth of information, but give you some descriptions. If you're like me and you want to be interested in warblers, this is the one right here, the Warbler Guide.
Yeah, and that's a
Peru right there
Northern Peru on the front. Did you take that picture?
No,
it looks like one of yours.
I didn't take it, but it's got all the warblers, the comparisons, and I'll tell you, a lot of them look alike. But it's got a wealth of information for a description. And this is my favorite one. This is a coffee table size book, Birds of North America. And it's fairly expensive, but it has got a wealth of information. It's got beautiful illustrations. of all the birds you found here in the United States. And you can get one it's specific to Eastern United States. It's smaller, but this is my go-to book.
And I tell you what, y'all get out there and put your feet out. If you hadn't already got it out, or if you got one out, be sure to go feel it up today. Remember what old Big Dad says, always practice safety, safety, safety. Spay and neuter your animals. Johnny, thank you so much for being with me today. It was a great show. We got a lot of information out there.
Enjoyed it, Big Daddy, always.
And remember what old Big Dad says, y'all. Get outdoors.